The film commences with the revelation that the state government is conducting various research programs, particularly the SETI project, short for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, to explore alien civilizations. The scene shifts to the United States government laboratories in Dugway, Utah, where secretive research programs are underway. The focus of these experiments is on Syl, a 12-year-old extraterrestrial girl kept within a protective glass chamber. Dr. Xavier Fitch, the head scientist, approaches Syl and offers an apology before two hazmat-suited men introduce cylinders containing cyanide gas, connecting them to Syl's chamber. Despite Syl's pleas, onlookers stand by as the poisonous gas fills the chamber. Surprisingly, Syl remains unaffected and breaks free from the glass chamber to escape the lab. Recognizing the danger, Fitch orders his entire army to pursue Syl. However, the intelligent girl eludes her pursuers and boards a train. Before departing, she kills a homeless man and adopts his clothes. The next morning, the train reaches a station, prompting Syl to roam around. Realizing the need for currency, she steals someone's bag, cleverly securing funds, and boards the next train. Later, Syl heads to the train's kitchen compartment, stealing money and food. When a ticket collector approaches, she hands over stolen money and acquires a ticket. Meanwhile, Fitch and his team discover the dead homeless man, linking Syl to the incident. Inside the train, the ticket collector finds Syl missing and stumbles upon a monstrous creature on the wall. Before she can react, the creature engulfs and eliminates her. Syl emerges from the creature shortly after. In the following scene, Preston Lennox arrives at a secret lab meeting three individuals awaiting Fitch. The quartet, including Dan Smithson, an empath, Stephen Arden, an expert in cross-cultural behavior, and Dr. Laura Baker, a molecular biologist, introduces themselves. Preston, a freelance government problem solver, joins them. Fitch enters the room, briefing the group about Syl. In 1974, materials, including human DNA and Earth maps, were sent to space, receiving a response 19 years later with a formula for fuel. Assuming friendly aliens, Fitch's team combined human and alien DNA, creating Syl. However, Syl's threatening behavior led Fitch to decide on her termination. Failing to do so, Syl escaped, prompting Fitch to seek assistance in tracking her down. Syl, now an adult, arrives in Los Angeles disguised as a ticket collector. Fitch and his team track the train, learning about the dead body. Laura assumes Syl has matured into an adult woman, and the group concludes that Syl is in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, Syl comes across a wedding dress, buys it, and roams the streets. She books a hotel room, learning to use the television. Curious about reproduction after watching intimate scenes, she inquires with the hotel receptionist about finding men, directed to a club. Fitch's team conducts an experiment with extraterrestrial DNA. When the egg camera is damaged, Laura and Preston enter the chamber to replace it. Inside, they realize something is wrong as Fitch orders them to return. Accidentally dropping a bolt, they are locked inside with the growing alien creature. Fitch decides to burn the chamber, but Laura and Preston are rescued by opening the door. Syl enters a nightclub in Los Angeles, observing the dancers. Approached by a man, she talks to him, later following another girl to the restroom and killing her. Syl then approaches another man, leading to a violent outcome. Fitch learns about Syl's location through the activation of the stolen credit card. Rushing to the hotel, they discover Syl has gone to a nearby nightclub. Upon reaching the club, Syl has already left with a man. The man takes her home and attempts to coerce her into intercourse. Initially agreeing, Syl changes her mind, requesting a ride back to the club. When the man refuses and tries to make advances, Syl cold-bloodedly eliminates him. Soon, Fitch and his team reach the house, but once again, they are a bit late. After investigating the house, they discover that Syl is attempting to reproduce. Upon closer inspection, they learn that Syl rejected the man due to his diabetes. The next morning, as Syl walks through a busy street, she is accidentally hit by a car and knocked out. A large crowd gathers and someone calls the police. Meanwhile, Fitch and his team examine CCTV footage from the hotel room, concluding that Syl's reproductive organs have fully developed. This raises concerns because if she finds a partner and reproduces, the world could be taken over by aliens. Fitch receives a call informing him that the deceased man's car has been discovered in Santa Monica. In the next scene, a man named John Carey transports Syl to Park Bay Hospital. Despite having no relationship with Syl, John pays the hospital bills and waits outside. In the hospital, a doctor notices Syl healing her own wounds. She rushes up and walks out with John. Scared, John calls the police, explaining the entire story. Fitch learns of the news and instructs Laura and Preston to visit the hospital. They find John's address and decide to visit him. At John's house, Syl's hormones take over and she cannot resist getting romantic with John. Laura and Preston enter the house, making a loud sound that notifies the couple in the pool. Syl reveals her desire to have a baby, horrifying John. As he tries to escape, Syl drags him into the water, drowning him. When Preston and Laura arrive, they find John's corpse. After patiently waiting for an opening, Syl escapes from the bushes naked and enters a woman's car. She pretends to be a victim and suddenly attacks the woman to steal her clothes. The group discovers that Syl hasn't been able to reproduce at the crime scene. They all return to their hotel and Syl follows them, learning their location. At night, Syl wakes up, having abducted the woman from earlier. The woman begs Syl to let her go, but Syl refuses. Syl then slashes her own thumb in front of the woman, and her finger regenerates miraculously. She cuts the woman's finger. The next day, Syl heads to a gas station, fills jars with gasoline, steals another car, and loads it with the jars along with the kidnapped woman. Meanwhile, Fitch and his group are waiting for Syl at the nightclub. When Dan exits the club, he notices Syl in front of him and calls his team. The entire team pursues Syl as she escapes in her car. After an intense chase, Syl drives through a steep hill and jumps out before it explodes, killing the woman inside. The team believes they have finally eliminated Syl when they discover her severed thumb inside the car. To celebrate their success, the entire team enjoys a party. Later, Syl, now changed in appearance, joins Laura in the restroom, but Laura cannot recognize her. Preston enters the same lift as Syl, but he also fails to recognize her. In the next scene, Preston enters Laura's room and has an intimate time with her. Meanwhile, Syl steals the key to Arden's room and spies on the couple next door. Arden enters the room, shocked to find a stranger. Syl reveals her desire to be intimate with him, and he gives in. Dan senses Syl's presence in his room and informs everyone that Syl is with Arden, needing to be stopped immediately. However, it's too late, as Syl has successfully reproduced with Arden, and the offspring is rapidly growing inside her womb. Syl eliminates Arden and flees through the wall as soon as Preston breaks the door. Fitch and his team pursue Syl to eliminate her before she gives birth, following her to a tunnel. Dan notices something moving but chooses to go the other way. Meanwhile, Syl gives birth to a boy who starts growing rapidly. The boy hunts down a rat inside the tunnel and eats it menacingly. Dan approaches the extraterrestrial boy, who attacks him with his tongue. Left with no choice, Dan burns the boy with his gun, igniting a fire beneath him. Now, Dan is left dangling from the cliff. Preston is caught by Syl's tentacles around his neck, but manages to free himself using his knife. Preston shoots Syl with his pistol and tosses her into the raging fire. When they assume the beast to be dead, they rush towards Dan to lift him up, but Syl grabs his leg and refuses to let him climb. Preston reloads his gun and blows off Syl's head, finally eliminating her. The movie ends as the three emerge from the tunnel victorious.